What is up, my Lorcana goons? Welcome back to the Lorcana Goons channel. My name is Kevin, and we're going to go over some Lorcana stuff. Today, I have for you the top 4 deck lists from the Nerdy Needs 1K that happened over this past weekend. We have a tournament report from 2 different players that played this tournament, actually. One of the players, Terra's Black, was gracious enough to post on the Disney Lorcana Facebook group, and he went ahead and mentioned that he got another first place win. It was a 1.4k prize pool split between the top 4, I believe. Total record of 7-0-2, playing Ruby Amethyst with his first place, and his teammates got 2nd and 8th place as well. One of them playing Sapphire Steel, and the other playing a similar version of Ruby Amethyst himself. He went ahead and said, I pretty much used the exact same list that got me first at the previous 1k he played. So shout out Terra's Black, getting multiple results with his deck and multiple events. Made slight changes. He said he took out 1 Ursula for an extra Minnie Mouse Surfer, took out Maleficent Dragon, and played 3 copies of LeFou. So like we were talking about in other videos before, a lot of people are not playing Maleficent Monsters Dragon as much anymore. And then he went ahead and explained that LeFou was 100% better and was the MVP of the night. Excellent change for the deck. Being able to quest and sing with a character in one turn is huge, according to him, or just having them be ready again so that they can't be challenged. A lot of the small plays make a ton of difference, he said, after getting first place at this event. Playing a couple of different cards in here that we're not used to seeing. 1 copy of Most Diabolical Scheme, which we have seen in the past. This is gonna let you banish a villain that you control to banish a chosen character. So you can banish your own character, you can banish an opposing problem. Really, it has a lot of synergy with all the Mim cards, the Maleficent Sorceress, and even in the later game, if you really want to get rid of your Yzma or something like that, you can, or your Big Lady Tremaine, you can use Diabolical Scheme for that. For Cusco's, maxing out on the Cusco's, what it's looking like. He mentioned no Ursula in this list, as we read a little while ago, but we are still playing 2 of the Elsa because you really want to have later game bombs right now if you're playing this kind of control type deck. He calls it momentum control because it does look like you are trying to play cards on turn 1, 2, 3, and 4, etc. Right? If you don't have a turn 2 play with opening up Minnie Mouse and Snake or something like that, having Cusco to play on turn 2 is really powerful. Or even just playing a LeFou on turn 2 for the tempo can be pretty strong too. LeFou, though, not playing any Arthurs with the LeFou to combo it off. He's just playing it by itself, and according to him, being able to ready your character so they can't be challenged, being able to quest and sing within the same turn seems pretty impactful with this deck. And I have to agree, a lot of times when you are playing LeFou with the Arthur package, you don't even need the Arthur to get the value out of LeFou. One of the interesting things about LeFou as well is that it lets your characters challenge twice. So if you're on turn 7 and you have a Maui and LeFou, one of the cooler combos you can do is play Maui, swing over a character, your Maui survives because he's Maui, you play LeFou, you ready your Maui again, and depending on the game state, you can challenge another character. You might even survive that extra challenge, so then Maui's getting so much value as a 3-for-1 instead of a normally 2-for-1, right? And we are playing the 2 spellbook. It's looking like to finish the game off, and as well as for Minnie Mouse Surfer. Cards like that are Minnie Mouse Surfer are definitely staples in Ruby Amethyst. I feel like in Ruby Amethyst, if you open up Minnie Mouse Surfer, you're probably going to win that match depending on the game you're playing against. And if in the mirror match, if you're going first and you open up Minnie Mouse Surfer, I feel like 9 times out of 10 you're winning that match, right? 3 Yzma, by the way, do want to mention that Yzma seeing a lot of popularity in the meta, and we're cutting down on the Lady Tremaines. A lot of people were playing 4 Lady Tremaine at one point, and now we're only seeing people playing 2 to 1 Lady Tremaine. It looks like it's getting cut out, and be prepared at 4 is just a mandatory staple is what that's looking like. So Terrace did go on to say that he played a Amethyst Steel round 1, round 2 against Amber Ruby, round 3 against Ruby Amethyst, round 4 another Ruby Amethyst, round 5 he played against a Amber Mufasa, round 6 he got an intentional draw, round 7 played against another Ruby Amethyst, round 8 against Sapphire Steel, and then last round final intentional draw with a teammate. So pretty much going undefeated the whole day outside of the draws. Very strong record for this deck. Pretty cool to see. He also gave a shout out to Ryan Burpee and Alpha Sports and more. So that's going to be other people that were in the top cut, and he's giving them a shout out, saying that they're also great players. I actually reached out to the 4th place who was playing the Amber Ruby Mufasa deck, Alpha JBO. Pretty humble dudes. They mentioned that they had an awesome time at the tournament. They were kind enough to send me over their tournament report and their opinion.
Yeah, bro, I'm starting to do a lot of gameplay through when I go to these 1Ks. I'm gonna start recording myself playing and, put the highlights and stuff like that. But now, man, I appreciate you going over my Mufasa deck. It was a fun deck. Could have went all the way with it. It's just things happen. People get luckier than you. But no, man, I appreciate you going to go over it. You know what I'm saying? Shout out, if you can, shout out my team, Alpha Nerd Gaming. You know what I'm saying? I own the team. Ryan's the team captain, R&B. So, you know what I'm saying? We're just trying to make the community bigger for us, get us like our community is getting bigger over here in Tampa, Florida. So we're just trying to get, thing cracking, bro. And shout out to the person that told you about me too, because, I'm known in the basketball community too. So
he said that it was a great 1K, one of the best so far. It consisted of 43 players, and this was the deck he played, an Amber Ruby Mufasa sauce is what he calls it. And then in top 4 with this deck playing cards that we don't normally see in Amber Ruby, like Queen of Hearts. He's playing the 2-drop and the shift 5-drop Queen of Hearts, which is cool. Playing both of those at 3 so you can generate some extra draw power. A lot of times we don't see actions and songs in the Mufasa decks, but this dude is playing 2 Be Prepared, 4 Teeth and Ambition, and 2 You Can Fly. Now, I know this isn't the first time we've seen You Can Fly in some of these top cut tournaments, so the addition to this in some of these Ruby decks is very interesting. If you don't know what this card does, it is a 2-cost song, so you can sing it with most of your characters, and you basically give a character on the board evasive. So you can give an opposing character evasive, or you can give your own characters evasive. If you give your own characters evasive, you can challenge the opposing evasive characters that the opponents tend to confidently quest, with so much vigor that it puts a lot of pressure on the board. But having a card like You Can Fly can definitely help you out those cards. Another interesting mechanic with You Can Fly is giving your opponent's cards evasive. Now, why would you want to give your opponent's cards evasive on your turn? Well, in case you didn't know this, if you give an opponent's bodyguard card evasive, you no longer can challenge the bodyguard card if you don't have an evasive character. So that means if they've left a character exerted, you can now challenge the exerted character playing around the bodyguard that was there in the first place. So this card doing wonders against some heavy bodyguard decks. Sometimes opposing aggro decks have a really fun time dropping the Hercules or the Prince Never Gives Up on you, and then they start questing their Lilos and their 2 lore characters, and you can't really do anything because your characters are kind of small and you can't out the Prince Never Gives Up, So using cards like You Can Fly, you give evasive to their opposing bodyguard character, they're not playing around it, and then boom, you're able to challenge it with your small characters, which is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool interaction that I don't think we use enough in Lorcana, but it just kind of does depend on what it is you're playing against. This card actually gives your character evasive until the start of your next turn. So even if you just wanted to give your character evasive to ensure that it's going to survive and not lose out to a challenge, because you need to get that extra lore going, this card can get you there. So I don't know, maybe consider playing You Can Fly in your Ruby deck. We're also seeing copies of Goofy, Minnie Mouse Surfer to combat the opposing evasive meta as well. They are playing the Maleficent's Monstrous Dragon at 3. We have Lady Tremaine at 3. We have Doc at 4 because you want to combo Doc off. Teeth and Ambitions seeing a lot of play in Amber Mufasa decks. I think it's pretty good in this build because it lets you trigger the Rapunzel if you don't have Mother Gothel, and in general against the aggro matchups you do kind of have a hard time if they start gaining a lot of tempo on you, and Teeth and Ambitions will get you there. Teeth and Ambitions will stop a lot of the Amethyst Steel aggro or the Tiana decks, you know what I mean, in my opinion. So Teeth and Ambitions at 4 does make sense in this deck. I can't imagine very often you hit a song or an action with Mufasa, because Mufasa in general is more of a floater in a sense where your opponent has to challenge it. It does a lot more than just triggering a character, but in general you don't have a lot of non-triggers for it. So you seem like you're probably pretty good, and you probably end up mulliganing, keeping some of the action so that you don't run into that problem later on, right? But they did let me know that the deck played really well. They lost in top 4 to a blue steel player who was playing around their own opposing hand by not using Whole New World, so he could not refill his hand. And the only other loss he had during the day was a was a Ruby Amethyst player, and he lost because he didn't see Mufasa that game. And so sometimes you just don't see Mufasa, and it does make an impact where it's not going to get you there. But in general, he went ahead and said that if he had just a little more luck, he probably could have won the 1K and taken it home. I asked him if he would take any of the cards out, change any card, and he said the deck works perfectly fine. He probably wouldn't change anything, and he said he's probably going to take the same deck list to the next 1K that's happening on the 17th. So shout out Alpha Sports. You seem like you know what you're talking about. This Mufasa sauce deck looking a little bit spicy, so definitely want to take it and test it to my next locals as well. Now we have the second place list by teammate from Terra's Black. He was playing Sapphire Steel with some cards that we're not used to seeing, like Maurice's Workshop. We have 4 Judy Hops and 1 Scepter of Arendelle. So Scepter of Arendelle is a 1 ink item that we saw in the first chapter. Gives your character support. Sometimes you just need to set this up for Flavor Shem, right? Or sometimes when you're playing the Maurice's Workshop combo, you just want an extra item to start drawing some cards. We're also seeing Eye of the Fates in this list. Check that out. I love Eye of the Fates. This card is one of the first cards that gives you extra lore on your turn, you know what I mean? And seeing it in the Rise of the Floodborn format is kind of interesting. Another item that's going to trigger Maurice's Workshop, obviously. You were playing 2 Tamatoa, so in the late game you can get these items back. Eye of the Fates adds a lot of pressure to a lot of cards that normally will quest for 1, like Jafar or Tiny Tactician Tinkerbell, and you can give them an extra lore so they start questing for 2. What's really interesting is cards like Nick Wilde and Judy Hobbs quest for 2 already, so you give them an extra lore and they're questing for 3. So this deck is looking like it could be a kind of aggressive take on the Sapphire Steel that we're used to seeing. We are playing the obvious 4 whole new world for Tragic Beast so that we can ensure that we're drawing as many cards as possible. We're not playing cards like Gaston or Nothing to Hide or Develop Your Brain for consistency. It's looking like instead we're supplementing that by playing stuff like Maurice's Workshop or even just strong cards that will net you advantage like Judy Hops, because Judy Hops lets you pop your own items as well. So if you just want to draw a card from Judy Hops, you can pop your Popsicle and then get it back with Nick Wild next turn, which is a pretty nice curve. I think Ruby Amethyst in general is a great deck, so obviously it is a hard matchup, but if you go first with Sapphire Steel and you're able to just ramp really well or resolve Whole New World before turn 7, oftentimes it's just GG. One of the crazier things too is hitting multiple Be Prepareds off of the Whole New World, which happens a lot more than you think it would. Even just hitting 1 Be Prepared feels so impactful because you hit that 1 and they might not draw another one after. So by turn 7 you can already finish the game. Turn 8 you drop a Tamatoa and that's just game over. Tinkerbell, we're playing 1 Tinkerbell Tiny Tactician and 4 of the Giant Fairy Tinkerbell to make sure that we can shift with it if we ever need to. Maybe consider playing more of those instead of the 1 to see the shift possibility, but maybe you just need 1. I like Tinkerbell this format. I think shifting Tinkerbell is really powerful, and in general with Sapphire Steel, Tinkerbell Grab Your Swords is just one of the best plays in the game. We're playing the 4 Jafar to out the opposing Minnie Mouse Surfers evasive characters like Ray that we've been seeing going around. It also clears the Peter Pan Shadow, the Fidget, a lot of these spicy techs that Ruby Amethyst have been playing in their deck lately. And if you're playing against a Mufasa player who's using Weak and Fly, then this evasive Jafar on your turn is going to be able to out an opposing evasive character too, which is pretty powerful, right? Last but not least, we're playing 2 Smash. I want to mention that because Smash is really powerful this format. It makes cards like Arthur look bad, and in general, I think Smash is a really good tool against like Amber Steel decks as well. Sometimes you just need 3 damage without any stipulation. You just want a fair game where you just need to deal that extra damage to finish clearing out the board. And Cogsworth 2 does a lot in this deck. I think a lot of times when you use double Cogsworth against any Steel matchup, you're probably going to win. So double Cogsworth is a very strong play. So we have Cogsworth at 4 in this deck. Shout out to Jotham over here for playing the Sapphire Steel list and getting 2nd place with a deck that wasn't Ruby Amethyst, right? Now we have Ryan Burpee's Sapphire Steel list. This list looking a little similar from the one we just seen. The staples in here obviously are the Whole New World, the Beast, Cogsworth, Giant Tinkerbell, etc. But this list is playing Belle where the other list was not playing Belle. It's looking like maybe you're playing cards like Eye of the Fates instead of Belle, but Belle is going to be one of the win conditions for this strategy, looking like, because you are playing 4. We're also playing 2 Benja in this list that we didn't see last time, and only 3 Hades. So we did cut out a Hades, and oh look, look, 2 Fire the Cannons. So 2 Fire the Cannons and 3 Smash to ensure that you can get rid of some of the board presence. But we are also playing 4 Grab Your Swords, which just seems like a staple too. We have 3 Mickey Mouse Detectives, so we can get some extra ramp going in this deck, alongside the Fishbone Quill and the Bell, which give us ramp as well. 3 Jafar. You can either play Jafar or Corella. I guess in general, you probably want to play the character in which you're most likely going to ink, meaning like if you're playing in a real life tournament and your opponent doesn't know the colors you're playing, right? If you have more inkable Sapphire cards in your deck, then just play Corella. If you have more inkable Jafars and Steel cards in your deck, then play Jafar. You know, that way you have a lower chance of revealing unnecessary information to your opponent. You know what I mean? 4 Tragic Hero Beast in this deck, reminding us why Tragic Hero Beast is a $45 to $50 legendary this format. Also want to mention that they are playing Prince Eric at 3. Prince Eric getting Challenger +2 is going to let you out opposing snakes, opposing foxes, even just the Olafs and the minis. When they start off playing Olaf and you have to pass your turn 1, when you respond with Prince Eric on turn 2, if you didn't have a hook or something, it's just as satisfying because they just can't quest with it anymore. So that's a pretty cool card to play currently. Even though we are coming toward the end of the format, we are still seeing a lot of variance in some of these tournaments in the meta. This top 4 breakdown brought to us by Nerdy Needs. Shout out them for putting on an awesome tournament for their local community. A $1,400 split between the top cut seems pretty rad. I love to see it. Cash prizing is always nice, right? I do want to give a shout out to Terrace Black's team, Lore Seekers, coming out of Central Florida. Here they are on the screenshot at you guys. The Lore Seekers, look out for them. It's looking like they're making moves in the Lorcana space. And then again, shout out to Alpha Nerd Gaming for getting top 4 in this event with Ruby, Amber, Mufasa. Thanks for leaving the comment, by the way. Somebody in the comments mentioned that they wanted us to cover the Ruby Amber deck from this tournament. So shout out them. Appreciate you guys for leaving comments and letting me know about these events that a lot of the local goons are participating in, because hey, we got to give props where props are due. You know what I mean? These tournaments are hard to enter in general or to play out. So 43 players coming out on top 4. Congrats to all of you. But let me know what you guys think of these decks, the current format, and what you think the format is going to evolve into as we come to an end of Rise of the Floodborn format. Into the Inklands is coming up soon, so I'm sure we'll get a variety of meta in the next month or so. But until then, my goons, remember to stick around, stay tuned to Lorcana Goons, like, comment, and subscribe if you like this content, and we will see you goons next time.